Forget everything you thought you knew about the APS-C market because the landscape of professional photography just shifted on its axis. For nearly a decade, wildlife and sports photographers have been clinging to their legendary Nikon D500S, refusing to migrate to mirrorless because nothing, and I mean nothing, offered that specific blend of rugged reliability, crop factor reach, and blistering speed. We've seen the Z50, the ZFC, and the Z30, but let's be honest, those weren't the successors we were waiting for. They were hobbyist tools. But today, the wait is officially over. The ghost of the D500 has finally returned in the form of a mirrorless titan. Welcome back to TechVibe, and today we are breaking down the absolute powerhouse that is the Nikon Z90. This isn't just a new camera, it is Nikon's declaration of war on the Sony A6700 and the Canon R7. If you've been hovering over the buy button for a full-frame Z8 or Z9, you need to stop what you're doing and watch this until the very last second, because the Z90 might just be the smartest investment you'll make in 2026. The rumors were swirling for years, dismissed by many as a mythical body that Nikon would never actually build. But the leaked specifications we've just confirmed tell a different story, a story of a mini Z9 that packs flagship performance into a DX format body. Let's start with the heart of this beast, the sensor. Nikon has finally stepped away from the aging 20-megapixel sensor found in their entry-level DX line. The Z90 is reportedly sporting a brand new 33-megapixel stacked CMOS sensor. Now, why does stack matter so much? If you're a sports or wildlife shooter, you know the pain of rolling shutter, that jelly-like distortion when you're panning fast or a bird's wings are flapping at high speeds. By using a stacked architecture, the Z90 achieves readout speeds that are essentially instantaneous. This allows for a completely blackout-free electronic viewfinder experience, just like the Z9. You aren't seeing a slideshow of what happened a millisecond ago, you are seeing reality in real time at 120 frames per second. Speaking of speed, the burst rates on the Z90 are nothing short of offensive to the competition. We are looking at 20 frames per second in RAW with the mechanical shutter and a mind-bending 120 frames per second in JPEG with the pre-release capture mode. Imagine you're sitting in a blind, waiting for a kingfisher to dive. With the Z90, you can actually begin buffering images the moment you half-press the shutter. When that bird hits the water, you've already captured the split-second action before you even fully pressed the button. This is flagship-level technology that was previously locked behind a $5,000 price tag, now migrating into a body that you can actually carry into the field all day without needing a chiropractor. But the sensor and speed are only half the story. The real black swan event here is Nikon's integration of RED digital cinema technology. Following Nikon's acquisition of RED, everyone was wondering when we'd see those high-end cinema features trickling down. Well, the Z90 is the first APS-C camera in history to feature internal 12-bit NRAW and RED RAW capabilities. We are talking about 6K resolution oversampled from the full width of the sensor, giving you a level of color science and dynamic range that was previously reserved for Hollywood film sets. For the hybrid creators out there, this is the ultimate B-cam to a Z9, or even a primary cinema rig for indie filmmakers. You get 4K at 120 frames per second for that buttery smooth 5x slow motion, all without the overheating issues that plagued the early mirrorless era. Nikon has redesigned the internal thermal management, utilizing the magnesium alloy chassis as a massive heatsink, ensuring you can record long-form content in the US summer heat without the dreaded yellow triangle appearing on your screen. Let's talk about the build, because this is where the D500 DNA truly shines. One of the biggest complaints about modern mirrorless cameras is that they feel like fragile computers rather than rugged tools. The Z90 changes that narrative. It features a deep, ergonomic grip that feels substantial even when you've got a massive 600mm or 800mm lens attached. It is fully weather-sealed, and when I say weather-sealed, I mean don't worry about that sudden downpour in that Everglades sealed. Nikon has even included the dedicated AF-on-B button and a joystick that mimics the tactile response of the Z8, making the transition for DSLR users seamless. And yes, for the professionals who refuse to compromise on data integrity, the rumors are confirmed: dual card slots. You're getting a high-speed CF Express Type B slot for those massive RAW bursts and video files, paired with a UHS-2 SD slot for easy backups or overflow. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Why would I buy a crop sensor camera when full frame is more affordable than ever? Here is the TechVibe reality check. The 1.5x crop factor is not a limitation, it is a superpower for the right kind of shooter. When you put a 400mm lens on the Z90, you aren't just getting a 400mm view. You are getting the effective reach of a 600mm lens while maintaining that 33-megapixel resolution. To get that same pixel density on a full-frame camera like the Z9, you'd have to crop in and lose more than half your megapixels. The Z90 gives you more reach for your buck than any other camera in the Nikon lineup. It turns an affordable 100 to 400mm lens into a wildlife-slaying 150 to 600mm beast. That is why the premium audience is losing their minds over this release. It's about efficiency. But speed and reach mean nothing if the autofocus can't keep up. This is where the APS-C processor comes into play. The Z90 inherits the exact same AI-driven subject recognition algorithms found in the Z8 and Z9. It doesn't just look for faces. It identifies birds, planes, trains, bicycles, and even the eyes of small animals through dense brush. The sticky autofocus that Nikon has perfected over the last 2 years is now fully realized in the DX format. In our early testing reports, the Z90's ability to track a bird in flight against a cluttered background actually rivals the Sony A1. It's that good. Nikon isn't just trying to compete, they are trying to reclaim the throne they held during the D500 era. Let's pivot to the competition for a moment, because the Z90 isn't entering a vacuum. The Canon R7 has been the reigning king of high-res APS-C for a while now, and the Sony A6700 is the go-to for many hybrid creators. However, the Z90 hits a sweet spot that neither of those quite reach. The Canon R7 lacks a stacked sensor, meaning it still struggles with rolling shutter in electronic mode. The Sony A6700, while brilliant at autofocus, lacks the professional ergonomics and dual card slots that working pros require. The Nikon Z90 is the Goldilocks camera. It has the build of a tank, the brains of a supercomputer, and the video specs of a cinema camera. It's the first time we've seen a manufacturer truly treat an APS-C body as a flagship rather than a budget alternative. So, when can you get your hands on this thing, and how much is it going to hurt your wallet? The official announcement is expected within the next few weeks, with a shipping date targeted for early Q2 of 2026. As for the price, all signs point to a launch MSRP of $1,999. Now, that might sound steep for a crop sensor camera, but when you look at the 6K Red RAW integration, the 33MP stack sensor, and the 120 frames per second burst rate, you realize you're getting about 90% of a Nikon Z8 for half the price. For the professional who needs a rugged, high-speed body for fieldwork, this is the bargain of the decade. Nikon is clearly listening to the community. They realized that there is a massive group of photographers who don't want the weight and cost of full-frame lenses but still demand professional results. The Z90 is a love letter to those shooters. It's a sign that the DX format is not just alive, it's being revitalized with the best technology Nikon has to offer. Whether you're shooting the Super Bowl or a backyard bird feeder, the Z90 is designed to ensure you never miss the shot. If you're still watching, it's because you know that gear like this only comes around once in a generation. The transition from the D500 to the Z90 is going to be remembered as the moment Nikon truly mastered the mirrorless era. This camera isn't just an upgrade, it's a career changer. We are going to be doing a full, boots-on-the-ground field test the second we get our hands on a production unit, comparing the autofocus against the absolute best from Sony and Canon to see if it truly lives up to the hype. But before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Is the Z90 the D500 successor you've been waiting for, or are you still committed to the full-frame life? Does the inclusion of Red Cinema Tech make this a must-buy for your video work? Drop a comment down below, I read every single one, and I want to know if Nikon has done enough to earn your loyalty in 2026. This is an exciting time to be a photographer, and we are just getting started. Thank you so much for sticking with us here at TechVibe. We pride ourselves on bringing you the most authentic, deep-dive technical analysis on the web. If you found this breakdown helpful, do us a huge favor, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. We've got some incredible content coming up, including a deep dive into the new Nikon DX Z mount glass that's launching alongside this body. You do not want to miss it. Stay sharp, keep shooting, and we'll see you in the next one.